Audio and visual check. Shout out to the Green Tea team. How is everyone doing this evening? I'll check that we are live. Hit the like and subscribe if you're coming in here. Leave a comment. People are in here watching. Are we live? Just, okay. Audio. Looking good. Sounding good. I have a very interesting edition of the live stream today. We're going to be looking today at... I'm exposing the Uni Party in New Zealand. Exposing the Uni Party. For those who don't know, it's a term I've been hearing quite a bit in Aussie, also in the UK, the Uni Party, and it indicates that there's no opposition party. There's no opposition party, that they're all captured Uni one, Uni cycle one. So I'm going to be exposing how on these core UN agenda issues that we in New Zealand have a Uni party. And I've got some good clips. I'm going to be playing some really good clips this evening, just to expose, show what is going on in a video format. Also, is the mainstream media and government in New Zealand making you afraid of the rain in the land of clouds? Aotearoa, the land of the long white cloud. Because they run these scams, the climate stuff, be afraid of the rain. They try with no observable reality. The observable reality, I remember 30 years ago driving around, you go to Te Aroha, Paeroa, and you drive around and houses that are on low-lying land that get flooded when it rains. 30 years ago, before they really ramped up the fear and control climate change scam agenda, you'd know people who had built their homes on low-lying flood-prone land. The translation for our country is the land of the long white cloud. New Zealand as a country based in the water element. The water element. Rivers, sea, lakes, rainfall, island nation. When I was in Canada, Canada's a similar water energy. So much water there, so much fresh water. And then they'll say, okay, because it rains now, and there's some floods here and there, and so whatever, and it's not an it's just this is just how the weather patterns are here. Now that you need to subjugate yourself, live less, that don't heat your house, to say whatever, the anti-God, anti-human climate change scam. Based on the natural environment we live in. Australia, it's like them saying like the wildfires or bushfires in Australia. Australia is a country, you can feel it when you go to Australia, that the energy is different there. Australia is based in the element of fire, the fire element. It's hot, there's deserts, all the insects and reptiles can bite, hurt, and kill you. They don't have the same water energy, the element of New Zealand. They have the fire energy. They have bushfires. I watch old Aboriginal documentary stuff, and they would burn bushfires to scare out their when they're hunting. They'd set themselves up at the sides, or so they'd catch the animals fleeing from their controlled bushfires. You know, hey, we get the odd bushfire here, yes, but it's nothing like in these hot, dry countries. So, also we're going to be looking today at the EV challenge. Are we going to do an EV? I'll start with the EV challenge. They want you to drive. They want you to go to an EV. This is the push. They want you to drive less. They want you to. I've been working out of town quite a way, so really you have range anxiety. Range anxiety. Can my vehicle make it to this remote place and back? And then you have to charge it for a crazy long amount of time. So really, for us, the free thinkers who drive, renewable petrol or diesel vehicles, we don't know what it's like to experience that. Although we could, let's do a 2-week challenge to know what it's like for our not the sharpest tools in the shed EV drivers. You are going to have your car constantly on just below quarter of a tank. Just below quarter of a tank. You're not going to fill it up, so you're going to have a small amount of fuel. Okay, below quarter of a tank, 25% of a tank. And when you and you can only, and when you drive around, and when you go to I've only got 50 k's of range, I need to put some gas, and now you have to fill your car up with an eyedropper. I want you to have the full EV experience, fully experience what it's like to have an EV. You have to spend 1 hour to 1.5 hours filling just to a quarter with an eyedropper, because you've got no range and it's super slow to fill. And then you'll know why they had to subsidize, why they had to give you a clean car discount to get you to want that, and try and penalize you for having a superior. Because I went out of town, 100 k's out of town, my range said 280, and I was like, oh wow. And there's no no gas stations where I was going. I was like, oh, this is how it must be for an EV driver. You have to plan everything like you're having to feed a horse or something, and then when you get to the place you have to wait. So you have to get there and you fill it with an eyedropper, and then you will know what it's like to own a substandard EV. And I did a video a couple of weeks ago about how the Kiwi Bank made me take my hat off when I went in there. I'm their customer, treated me like a criminal. I questioned them whether Muslims or Indians were allowed to wear headgear. And then I came across this video, quite by happenstance, of Owen Benjamin talking about how they made us wear masks. Not me. I never wore a mask. 0 times did a mask go on this face. This distinguished, dashing looking face. Not a once. But in Kiwi Bank, they made me, you have to take your hat off. And then here, Benjamin made this point about how it was in the COVID days.
Think about how fucking evil that is.
I'm ready to say it. The best way to show a bank teller you are not a threat to her safety is by wearing a mask.
That's what they told us to do. They said wear a mask to show people that you care about their safety. People in banks are wearing fucking masks.
The scariest illnesses are the ones with no biological symptoms, except for communism.
The only symptom of COVID is communism. Dude, I forgot how funny this is.
This has done a lot to heal, and I'm ready to be returned to YouTube.
And the illnesses that you need to be most afraid of are those that are asymptomatic. You have no symptoms. You're completely healthy. But that's the one you need to be most afraid of. And keep the bank tellers safe. And I got a great series of comments from NZ on that video. I'm going to read them. I'm not getting, my notifications are not great. And that was Benjamin on BitChute. I have got another clip of his to play. NZ, that is just so funny that you can't wear a hat in the bank, but I guarantee you're allowed to wear a mask. It wasn't that long ago that if you walked into a bank with a mask, they'd call the cops, yes. These days, we're living in cuckoo land. And then he makes the point, direct from AI inquiry, no hats are allowed to be worn inside BNZ branches in New Zealand to counter the risk of bank robberies. The Bank of New Zealand implemented a policy banning customers from wearing hats, hoodies, sunglasses and helmets in the branches. The rule was designed to differentiate for the staff to differentiate between genuine customers and potential robbers. And then he commented, I asked AI if Sikh can wear a turban in a BNZ bank. Yes, a Sikh can wear a turban inside a BNZ bank in New Zealand. That's why I questioned them as well. While BNZ has a general policy requiring customers to wear hats, hoodies, and face coverings for security reasons, the bank respects religious and cultural practice. Me wearing my wool beanie because I've been outside building, that's a cultural reason. So it appears that the BNZ policy of discrimination, a born and bred New Zealander is not permitted to wear a beanie on a cold winter's day inside the bank, but a Sikh is welcome to wear a turban into the same bank. BNZ, fill in your bank, claims the banning of headgear is for security reasons. I then have to question, would it be easier to conceal a weapon inside of a turban or a beanie? BNZ has crossed the line of common sense and discrimination. Where can you purchase a turban? Nice. This is the first time I've read these comments. I only just found them because I was researching today's topic. And this is all coming through from the Uni Party as well. All coming through from the Uni Party. I'll do my intro. Welcome to the Green Tea Freedom and Truth channel. This is Tristan. It's good to have the Green Tea team back for today's edition of the live stream. It is Tuesday, the 9th of June, 2026 here in Taupō, New Zealand. I appreciate the Green Tea team. So yeah. And he sent these questions 16 days ago, so yeah, I've just seen them. Just before we go into the, let's just remember that the whole Uni Party captured by the UN agenda is based on the United Nations Agenda 2030. Where they don't want representative government, they want a uni government. Rosa Corey.
States of America is really under attack right now. We in the United States are, the U.S. landmass is about 2.5 times the size of Europe and has roughly half the population, just over half. That landmass is huge, and about 75% of the population lives in large cities. The goal is to move everyone out of the rural areas and into the large cities, and to destroy representative government, and to move it into to government by unelected boards and commissions. Now here in the EU, of course, you've already moved to that position. where it's an erasure of jurisdictional boundaries, an erasure of national boundaries. And that is the goal, because as Zbigniew Brzezinski said in 1995, you can't just impose globalization pell-mell as a total movement. You have to do it incrementally, and the way to do that is through regionalization. And in Denmark,
So, non-representative governments, centralization, regionalization, we're seeing it here, trying to take away the councils, trying to get to this, you have no input. But they can't take away your consciousness, your thoughts, words, and actions. Religion and spirituality is upstream of culture. Culture, is upstream of public servants and governance. So they will only govern to what we allow, you see when they tried to do the three waters in New Zealand, where they tried to centralize all the water stuff, huge public pushback, huge, the mask mandates, the jab stuff, just huge public uprising. So for me to expose the Uni Party, we're going to have a look at how all of our current Prime Minister, current member of the opposition, former Prime Minister, we're going to have a look at all of them, how they're all in lockstep and they're on supposedly on completely different sides of the aisle. And don't they know that we know that the climate change is a scam? There's all of the evidence they put forward. The UN IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, has just redacted its climate modeling that we've all been using for decades. The RCP 8.5, the doomsday predictions, have all been run back, all been put in the paper shredder. So I'm going to play this clip. I'm going to play this clip first. We're going to have a little, there's no climate apocalypse. Yes, great. There is zero evidence of a climate apocalypse. There is, all the evidence is that it's actually getting slightly cooler. This is Lucy Bigger?
Therapist. We'd had a session and she said, you've been a bit different. Is something troubling you? And I said, well, I'm just sort of terrified about the coming climate apocalypse. And
Okay, this is a comedy routine. However, nothing about this is funny, because there are so many millions of young people right now who are actually terrified of the climate apocalypse, and it's giving them horrible anxiety, depression, this feeling of overwhelm and nihilism. And so this guy, I get it. He's saying like, oh, we're just going to laugh at it because like the world is so fucked. But like the fact of the matter is there's no evidence for a climate apocalypse. Any serious scientist would tell you there's no evidence for a climate apocalypse. We're going through climate change, which is a minor warming that has been completely manageable, and we're still thriving. So we'll keep going.
she said, okay, Stuart, that's a scary thought, but let's look at the evidence. What's the evidence for that thought?
Okay, so the whole audience here is laughing because they're in on this joke. Like, well, obviously the evidence is overwhelming. Like, ha, 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 ha. But the fact of the matter is when you actually look at the science, like I have and many have before me, the evidence is not overwhelming for a climate apocalypse. There is no climate apocalypse. I quote the UN report, the IPCC, all the time. They're looking for a climate apocalypse. They can't even find it. Extreme weather's not getting worse. They can't find any patterns that these supposed horrible weather patterns are getting worse. And so the people in this audience are all laughing because they're in on the same frame of reference that the evidence is overwhelming, but it's not overwhelming.
It's not overwhelming. There's no overwhelming evidence. I'll play this. Lucy Biggers is her name. Lucy Biggers. Hit the like and subscribe if you're coming in here. Leave a comment. We've got a live chat. We've got a live chat happening. You can leave. I can interact with you.
Like I have in
Live. We've got a good group of people in here. Sweet. Okay, so I'm going to play this short clip of Lucy Biggers and give commentary. The only thing causing climate anxiety, and it pisses me off that they try and use this fear and control on our children. I gave the story of the young German guy in his early 20s. I was, went out rock climbing with, and I said the climate change was BS, and he got triggered and was like, oh, as if I had blasphemed against the creator of the balanced universe. I was like, oh wow, you have really been indoctrinated into, hey, schooled in Europe, schooled in the EU, commie school. Yeah, and what about Benjamin? The only side effect of COVID was symptom of COVID was communism. Gold. That is gold. I'm going to play that again in a minute. Okay, this is the only thing causing climate anxiety is videos like this one from the World Health Organization linking normal weather events like droughts, floods, and just any normal weather pattern. The land of the long white cloud. It rains here. That's why I've got lots of delicious fresh water.
Terms such as Australia, ecological grief, or anxiety.
These are being used to describe the negative impact of climate change on our well-being and mental health.
So negative effects of climate change on well-being and mental health. This is from the World Health Organization, the health arm of the Communist UN.
World Health Organization, we're ringing alarm bells.
This is their advertising, current advertising.
About the growing impact of climate change on our mental health.
Imagine a family losing their home in a flood, a drought, or a wildfire that destroys the crops, resulting in hunger, poverty, and loss of livelihood.
Okay. They're talking about climate change, and then they use the example of a flood, drought, wildfire, realizing those are weather events that have always happened since the history of
weather events that have always happened. Weather events that have always happened through history.
Time, and you can't attribute any single weather event to climate change, and the only thing that makes us resilient to these weather events is our modern infrastructure, specifically our energy system, which is 80% fossil fuels, oil, coal, natural gas that they vilify. Okay.
I did message Lucy Biggers and asked her to stop saying fossil fuels, to say natural, renewable oil, petrol, and diesel.
Keep going.
Teenager living on an island, faced with the horror that
Teenager living on an island, faced with the horror that soon
what she calls home might be submerged due to rising sea levels.
So sea levels are rising about 3 millimeters per year at most. The most aggressive estimate is 4 to 5 millimeters per year, which is a completely manageable rate. And also these supposed islands that are going underwater, like the Maldives, for example, have actually grown in size.
So these islands, Tuvalu, they actually have got ingress. Their land mass is growing, they're not being swamped.
Because of something called accretion, which is a natural process where the ocean currents deposit sediment and actually make an island grow. And so this process is allowing these islands to keep up with sea level rise. We'll go on.
There's no sea level rise.
We know
this woman, Lucy Biggers, was a former climate activist, knew Greta Thunberg, and she had kids, got married, had kids, and then realized that she was actually brainwashed.
Climate change does impact our mental health.
You know what impacts our mental health is videos like these that are fear-mongering over normal weather events and making us believe we need to have anxiety from them.
For some people, the impacts can be overwhelming, leading to feelings like fear, anxiety, depression, and helplessness. And
this is so true. The thing is, eco-anxiety is real. It's something I used to suffer from, but it's made worse by these people who are not telling you the whole story and only pushing fear and overwhelm when we could be pointing to humanity's history of ingenuity and adaptation, and the fact that 100 million people live under sea level right now because we built seawalls and we are really good.
That's why this channel is so good. I'll play the Owen Benjamin clip again about the face mask. So there is some some cuss words. So toughen up. Make sure there's no kids around.
Think about how fucking evil that is.
I'm ready to say it. The best way to show a bank teller you are not a threat to her safety is by wearing a mask.
That's what they told us to do. They said wear a mask to show people that you care about their safety. People in banks are wearing fucking masks.
The scariest illnesses are the ones with no biological symptoms, except for communism.
The only symptom of COVID is communism. Dude, I forgot how funny this is.
This has done a lot to heal, and I'm ready to be returned to YouTube.
Okay. Communism. Okay, let's look at our current Prime Minister. Let's look at our current Prime Minister, what his view is on the United Nations anti-God, anti-human, net zero, and climate change. He's the head man in the country.
Is this a man-made climate change disaster that is worse because of the impact of our industrialisation of the planet?
There's no doubt about it. Climate change is impacting and creating extreme weather events, and this is what this is definitely about.
Impact of man-made, impact on
yeah, I mean, if you're a climate change denier at the moment,
you're a science
even a minimalist,
denier, aren't you?
yeah, I just don't understand how you can hold that position, to be honest.
If you're a climate change denier, Christopher Luxon, if you're a climate change, how can you justify that? Really? I'll play that again, just so you don't think it's not a conspiracy theory.
Is this a man-made climate change disaster that is worse because of the impact of our industrialisation of the planet?
There's no doubt about it. Climate change is impacting and creating extreme weather events, and this is what this is definitely about.
Impact of man-made, impact on
yeah, I mean, if you're a climate change denier at the moment,
you're a
or even a
science
minimalist,
denier, aren't you?
yeah, I just don't understand how you can hold that position, to be honest.
So now I'm going to play a clip of that was Luxon, Christopher Luxon. Now I'm going to play a clip of the other major opposition party, the opposition. We're supposed to have opposition. The Uni party means they're all controlled, they're all working towards the same end goal. This is Christopher Hipkins on his views on climate change. When the IPCC is searching for evidence, they have said that's the era of global boiling. Now they're starting to say that we're heading towards what is it? There's a current, some Arctic current things reversing. And that German guy I was talking to, I was like, at school, when I was a kid at school, they said we were heading for an ice age. There was a hole in the ozone layer. Every prediction that they've made, they called it global warming, has completely failed. It's been a lie. Everyone's been. This has been a complete lie. This is Christopher Hipkins, the man, God willing, that won't be Prime Minister at the end. I think I would be a better Prime Minister than any of these Uni party controlled and captured politicians. This is what Christopher Hipkins' current position is as the leader of the opposition on climate change, on net zero.
Particularly there are around 23,000 homes at the moment who are coping without electricity. I know that the lines companies will be working around the clock to try and get people reconnected again. To those who are living in precarious situation, unsure what to do, follow the advice that's being provided by your local authorities. I think all New Zealanders are looking at this and thinking, goodness me, we're seeing all of these severe weather events that used to be 1 in 100 years, then they seem to be happening on a weekly basis. This is the reality that we face with climate change. We're going to see more extreme weather events. They are going to be more frequent, and we need to take this seriously. We need to do a lot more to combat climate change, because as long as we fail to combat climate change, these severe weather events are going to keep coming, and they're going to get worse. Even with good action on climate change, we also need to focus on building more resilience, adapting to the fact that the weather is going to be more unpredictable and we're going to see more severe weather events. The current government are in denial about both of those things. They've cut action on climate change, and they've cut action to actually prepare New Zealand to be more resilient. We need to really ramp up the pace on both of those things. It's long past time that we've debated whether climate change is real. It is real. We can see it every day. We've got to start taking more concrete action. Particularly, there are around 23,000 homes at the moment who are coping without electricity. I know that the lines companies will be working around the clock to try and get people reconnected again. To those...
We're not listening to him twice. Interesting, they push the fear and control when there is a historical pattern. You know, rain, storms, cyclones, flooding, this sort of thing. Then they jump onto it. Then they say there's been some increase when all of the data doesn't support that there's actually decreases. There's decreases in wildfire. There's increases in crop production. So there's decreases in tornado landfall in the States or whatever. It's just lies and trickery. There is no there's no climate apocalypse. We all knew it. We're all good. The weather's just like the side effect of COVID was communism. The side effect of climate change and net zero is communism. Hunger Games, subjugation by choice. Subjugation by choice. But they are losing. They're losing the war for hearts and minds, because people know that it's a scam. You know, that they say they care about the cost of living, and then they push net zero that increases power prices, increases the cost, increases fuel prices, increases food prices, increases insurance costs, increases the cost of living. You know, cheap, affordable and abundant energy to heat our homes, to power our vehicles. That's what I did a clips on it. You know, they want the war in Iran. They want the high fuel prices. You know, Trump starting the war he promised he wouldn't start. Trump protects the pedos on the Epstein list. Him and his missus are like balls deep in the Epstein list. Oh, we're gonna not start wars, have cheap energy, and expose the pedos. He protects his pedo mates, probably him, allegedly. Starts a war, increases the cost of energy. Really? They're all in. They're all in on it. They're all in on the uni. It's the uni party. How can Christopher Luxon call himself an opposition party, an opposition leader, when the person a party he opposed has exactly the same
New Zealand declared a climate emergency in Parliament on Wednesday and promised that the government would become carbon neutral by 2025. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said the motion was based on United Nations research showing carbon emissions need to reach zero by 2050 to avoid a 1.5 degrees Celsius rise in temperature, a threshold many experts say is crucial to protecting ecosystems.
as a government, we are also announcing the carbon neutral government program that requires government organisations to be carbon neutral by 2025. We must get our own house in order. How can we stand and take a leadership position amongst the private sector unless we take the same action that we expect of them?
The motion was passed in Parliament and met with applause. The program will require government agencies to measure and publicly report carbon emissions and offset any they cannot cut by 2025. In her speech, Ardern also argued this motion was vital to avoid human displacement, exhausting global resources, and to protect future generations.
This declaration is an acknowledgement of the next generation, an acknowledgement of the burden that they will carry if we do not get this right and if we do not take action now.
New Zealand joins 32 other countries, including Canada, France, and Britain, all of which have declared a climate emergency.
They must know that we know that they're pushing an anti-God, anti-human scam. They must. Okay, let's just. Okay, so maybe that's a fault of mine. Maybe we need to let them know that we know that we're not having it, that it is a scam, that it is causing hardship, that it is an anti-God, anti-human agenda, and we don't want it. We don't want any of it. We don't want a bar of it. So that's been a real blessing of 2026, the year of common sense, using our common sense and creativity. Creativity, I did it, my raining theme song for my last stream. You know, these agendas just keep raining down. They just keep going on as if there's no consequences to the action. There's no blowback to their captured treasonous behaviour against us. That they are selling us out to the UN, to the World Economic Forum. Luxon is captured by the World Economic Forum. He is not serving us. He is not. Said ONZ said he's like Klaus Schwab clone. Yes. Their modelling that they're saying is like they've based all of these papers, all of this renewable stuff, all of these subsidies and trillions of our taxpayers' dollars is implausible. It's fantasy. There should be court cases right now.
Just on the left is a sample published paper more recently, which acknowledges and verifies this. But on the bottom left came from Professor John Christie, a brilliant man who's been an atmospheric climate scientist for probably a half century. And this was in a deposition to a congressional type hearing. So you can see there, the green and the blue are balloon and satellite measurements of temperature. So you can see from 75 to 2015,
they're saying is like
almost a half century, we're only going up around 0.2 degrees Celsius, 0.2 and a bit. But what you'll note is the red line, the models from the IPCC, which started off reasonable. They started off reasonably, and they weren't too much above reality. But then around 95, the pressure was put on. And you can see that their models began to predict outlandish increases that bear no relation to reality. And on the right-hand side, you see it in another form. The observations there, a little over 0.1 degrees Celsius, per 1979 to 21, and then various models in red X's, and the average being the purple X on the right.
Later in the discussion, we talk about China, because if there's a real problem or a crisis, well, the Pareto principle says you got to look at the biggest, factors, the biggest emitters.
IPCC implosion. Hey, I would be quite happy to see them all go down with the climate change ship. Oh, hold on to that anchor. Hey, they baked it in. We are the ones who have to guide our public servants out of this hole that we let them get into. We have to take a leadership role, inform them. We did a public meeting 2 years ago. I put it on. We got a climate scientist. We got the deputy mayor and councillors out there, and the title of it was, "Are UN climate change policies affecting your rates bill now in small town New Zealand?" Full house. Couple of years ago, people came. Yes, they are. They're using all their modelling to. They're paying people to work on climate adaptation plans, manage retreat plans, emissions reduction plans. We're paying for it now. That would be one of my first policies if I had that type of influence. Is that's all got to go. Right from the. We need to have good environmental policies to reduce pollution and X, Y, and Z. But all of this carbon net zero stuff, that's got to get the chopping the head of Sauron off right there. We got a good group of people in here. I appreciate people being in here, watching the stream, watching the live stream. And we know that they are with the UNDRIP, the United Nations Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People. If the UN had the United Nations Declaration for the Rights of Anglo-Saxon white New Zealanders, I would be side-eyeing that. I would be side-eyeing that and telling them to back that truck. I would be saying, I do not need the United Nations Declaration for Rights of Dashing Anglo-Saxon men. No, I don't need that. I'm a sovereign living man. I don't feel a victim of the lockdowns and the tyranny, the COVID tyranny, and the climates. I realized that I was a bit hands-off, had let the public servants a bit too much free rein, and now I'm going to be more active, more proactive. I want to be the change I want to see in the world. I don't want to be, and I don't feel I'm a oppressor. I feel I'm a good man, doing good work in the world. They're doing my best. Faults, strengths and weaknesses, but I know I am endowed with faculties, God-given faculties, that if we can harness them and use them in whatever area you're strong on, I like talking. I've always felt my verbal skills of a high standard. I back myself. I back myself in any company. I don't care about the letters or the accolades behind your name. I back my common sense very highly, very, very highly. I don't, yeah. And this victim mindset is weakening to people.
How many people almost act envious of these small-headed individuals that keep getting all these laws passed so no one can criticize them, and they're obsessed with the Holocaust, and there's museums for Holocaust everywhere. If you want to be them, you're insane. Do you know what victim consciousness does to you? It makes it so you never feel gratitude. I make fun of it because I'm a comedian and it's absurd. But no one should ever want to be a member of a group of people that is defined by trauma that they didn't experience themselves. And if they don't get trauma and if people don't hate them, they feel a lack of identity. Guys, that's a nightmare. You don't want to be under the wing of the beast. No. Look at what's happening to inner cities. You know, all these people that are all jealous of black people. They're like, they get free stuff. They get to go to college. You're not allowed to say these words. If they steal your bike, you can't even say they're black. Guys, they're being exploited more than anybody. The amount of vaccines they're getting pumped into, their school system, they are just batteries for the beast. And you do not want to be a member of a group of people whose identity is based around trauma that happened to people by people that are all dead and they can't move on and they can't accept the realities of life. And they have one of the most sociopathic criminal entities on the planet, the government, all governments, giving them free health care, which is poison, giving them free education, which is lies, and making their families so out of whack and so full of resentment that they probably never met their dad. And then they can't face any of their real problems like the high, there really is a murder problem in certain black neighborhoods. Like that trauma is real. Like there's people in this country that have a life where they experience trauma. They'll see blood on the street. They'll know a guy that was shot in the head. You don't see that on the news because it's real. What you see on the news is trauma that doesn't really happen, that they invent so that you're scared. That's all it is. Don't ever envy anyone with victim consciousness because they never, ever feel grateful. And that's a curse, guys, a curse. Don't be envious of Israel. Okay, let's talk about 5G AI. And real quick, I want to talk about the envy of Israel.
And I'm very, very grateful to the Green Tea team. I'm grateful for God's own New Zealand, the land, Aotearoa, the land of the long white cloud. And I'm not scared of rain. I know we have to be prepared for these things. And who watching is going to try my EV challenge? Hardly any fuel. And when you fill up, you have to fill up with an eyedropper back to your just below quarter of a tank. Who's going to do that? I guarantee that no one in the Green Tea team watching this is going to do that. Why? Because you have common sense. Because that is substandard. That is not that good. Hey, there is a case for EVs for your grandma who just drives twice a week and putters around. Yes, there is. But for 97% of people, it is substandard. And hey, we know there are fire risk. We know there are an explosion risk and an electrocution risk. So I'll be aiming for a Sunday evening stream this coming week. Sunday, it'll probably be... I get way more views if I tell people when I'm going to do the stream. So I'll be aiming for Sunday, probably around 6:30 or 7. They take me time to pull the streams together. Then I've got to do the streams. But I'm going to... Sunday evening is what I'm aiming for. Have courage, speak the truth, support each other, have faith and have fun. I'm out.